Hey everyone, welcome to this week's live. I'm Sally. Is anybody there? If you're there, jump on and say hi. I'm in my bedroom today because, I don't know if you can hear, we've got some work going on, one of the neighbours, so it's a little bit noisy. And this is the quietest room. So you'll get to have a little tour of my flat maybe. So a very warm welcome to you. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sally and I help people navigate and overcome anxiety and depression and all of those things that come with it, you know, illness, headaches, trauma, all that stuff. I do that through hypnosis, through coaching, and I also work with people who are frightened of public speaking and who also want to overcome sort of mental and emotional blocks around singing. I'm a singing teacher first and foremost, and with a huge interest in the mind. So if you're here, let me know. I can see there's one person watching. Let me know who you are. Say hi, don't be shy. So today's live is called The Magic in Meltdowns. And it is part 3 in the intro series, which is designed to be an introduction to the Anxiety Compass, to this group which I have set up. Sue, hey Sue, finally you're here. And Findus, hi lovely. So where was I? So if you've not already read the pinned post, read it after this live and you'll see that there are many different ways to post on this group. So by using these hashtags, and I like to kind of keep the conversation contained a little bit so that it doesn't go AWOL, because when you get a bunch of anxious people together, you know, tempers can flare. So had a bit of a meltdown today, Sue. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, lovely. Yeah, I had one yesterday, funnily enough. I get them often, but you know, I don't mind them these days, but we can talk about it. So today's hashtag is meltdown, and whenever you're having a meltdown, feel free to use this group. This is your group. I created it for you, and you can do a post and you'll get some sympathy, or you'll get some advice and you'll get some wisdom, or you could even do a Facebook Live, providing it doesn't go on for too long. So use this group. Okay, let's get started. So basically, I finished Johann Hari's book, Lost Connections, last week. Here it is. I highly recommend it. I did the audiobook actually, and it was a real game changer for me. Basically, his idea is that anxiety and depression is trying to tell us something. Where are we out of kilter? What are we believing that is not actually true about ourselves and about the nature of existence, about who we really are? And anxiety and depression is the body's way of like melting down so that we can really like understand what's going on. These meltdowns can be like a turning point for you. They provide massive opportunity. They might seem destructive. They are destructive because, you know, when you're building a new house, it looks like a demolition site, first of all, doesn't it? Before you construct, it's like the new hospital in Brighton. They had to knock so much stuff down before they started building it, and it still looks like a building site. Obviously, it is a building site. Well, that's kind of like what's happening with us. When we're melting down, we're in that kind of destruction phase. And then, yes, his video was an eye-opener. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, Johann Hari's video on this page, on the Anxiety Compass discussion, is a real eye-opener. He's amazing. I love him. I think I want to marry him, actually. Anyway, sorry. Now, any kind of meltdown can be used for good. And there's lots and lots and lots of processes now being developed by therapists, by teachers, wisdom teachers, with this kind of flow in mind. They break you down and build you back up again. And one of my favourite teachers is, I'm showing you another book, Nick Jankel. Here's his book. I met him in Auvergne, and his process is called Switch On, and it is about thriving. It's about not saying I'm fine, it's about saying I am amazing, and we do that through these breakdowns and rebuilding, and it's kind of a constant process, really, I think, because life evolves, and you know, we're going to have stuff happen to us that breaks us down, and then we rebuild ourselves. So providing you don't stay in the sticky stuff for too long, you can see the magic in that. And I'm going to show you a process that you can do to help you kind of come out the other side. So what triggers a meltdown? Feel free to share with me some of your triggers. What is it that triggers meltdowns in you? If it's personal, you don't have to share. You could send me a private message. But for me, it's when something is kind of out of balance. So recently, basically, I've got this problem in my disc, my lower back. I've got degenerative disc disease, which sounds worse than it is, but it is a lifelong condition and it does flare up from time to time. So when I get out of balance, my body screams at me, this disc screams at me. If I've not been paying attention to my health, my body screams at me. And yesterday it got so painful. I just ended up kind of having this meltdown, crying my eyes out. I couldn't bear physical pain anymore. And as a result of that, getting kind of as worse as I could tolerate, it made me step up my game and make a decision that I was going to look after myself. And sure enough, I put some things into place. I put some dietary things into place, some exercises. My mindset shifted. I decided to take more care of myself. And today it's a lot better. That is how powerful your mind is. Your mind and body, like one thing with this signal going backwards and forwards. It's so powerful. High stress, Sue. You've said high stress. I am a typical people pleaser. Oh yes, we know that one. With all that responsibility, it burns you out. And of course, you're going to have a meltdown because your behaviours are not in line with what you want for yourself. What you want for yourself is probably not to please people, probably not to have all that responsibility, to feel calmer, to feel more balanced. So, yes, sometimes we need it to get really bad before we will take stock and listen. And actually, I'm finding more and more now these days, it doesn't need to get as bad as it used to for me to listen. And that's the key. When we can nip it in the bud, again, you know, it's about stopping anxiety spiraling out of control. So when you can nip it in the bud, you can have your meltdown, kind of do it a bit quicker than perhaps in the early days. I know when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I used to think depression was going to last forever. I would have this bout of depression and I would think that was it. That was me forever and ever and ever. Amen. But it's not. These things change. They move. And the more practice you get at it, the quicker you can move it through the body. So it just becomes like, as Eckhart Tolle says, it's just like a gust of wind sort of moving through you, and you can transform it quickly. Meltdowns can also be triggered by sort of more existential crises. So grief and loss and sort of the breakdown of your current norm. Oh, so true. Thanks, Sue. Thanks for your validation there. Yeah, it is true. So, you know, when we're going through loss or grief or breakdown of a relationship, it spins our head. It's like we're trying to find our true north again. And there is this like loss of cohesion in our lives. When we look back, we think, oh my God, what was all that about? And it can send us into a real tailspin because you don't know what your life looks like anymore, what it's supposed to look like anymore. So you're just trying to compute all the time. And so meltdowns can either be short, can be done like in sort of 2 hours or 3 hours, especially if you work with a therapist or you're doing like a ayahuascan process or a switch-on process with Nick Jankel. They can be quick, maybe last a day or a few hours, or they might be longer, you know, maybe over a month or maybe 2 months, depending on what is happening in your life. And you have to give yourself the right level of time, the right level of space to go through your process, just so long as you're not wallowing in the lower part of the process. Get yourself out as quickly as you can up to the new stuff, and I will explain a little bit more. I hope this is all making sense. It should do by the end. So when we're having a meltdown, you know, no amount of positive thinking helps when we're stuck in it. We can try and think ourselves like out of it a little bit, and sometimes it might work, but actually what we really need to do is follow the journey, go through the process. It's a process. What we need to do is give it a voice. We need to let it out. We need to say how we're feeling, scream, yell, express through voice, express through movement, express through tears. Whatever you do, whatever you like, even art, express through art. You know, if you're feeling angry, you can really aggressively take it out on the canvas if that's your thing. Or if you're a musician, write a really angry song or scream out some Aerosmith or some Evanescence or whatever you fancy. You can blast through it quickly, or, you know, it might take you a little bit longer. Now, one of the things is, a lot of people avoid having meltdowns. And why do you think that is? As a therapist, you know, I work with some people who really skirt around the issue, and they're so frightened of actually hitting the nail on the head because they think they're not going to be able to stop. You will be able to stop. You have to go through. It's like panic attacks. The only way to the other side of a panic attack is to experience it, to practice experiencing it, and to be successful at it. The only way through to the other side of any of your emotions is to go through them. And I know it's painful, but you're not going to die. A lot of people feel that they don't want to be embarrassed. You know, I don't actually give a shit anymore, excuse my French. If I'm out and about and suddenly I get some news or I feel like I need to have a meltdown, I will just have it. Now, I won't kick and scream like a child, but I'll put my sunglasses on and I'll have a cry. And occasionally people have come up to me and said, "Are you okay?" And they appreciate my vulnerability. So, you know, that is one of the reasons why we don't embrace meltdowns, especially in our culture, because we are very guarded. We are very, you know, we don't want to lose face. We don't want to be embarrassed in front of our friends. We don't want to look weak. We want to be strong all the time. But I say to you, be the first one to be vulnerable, because then you give other people permission to be their vulnerable selves as well. And we all crave that vulnerability, being able to be vulnerable in front of our friends if and when required. So I like to say this, meltdowns are medicinal. I find them so medicinal. It's like you're transforming this energy. So you've got this this negative energy, let's say negative like this. So this fear, this sadness, this grief, this frustration, this anger, this anxiety, and if we don't transform them, hey, someone's given me a heart. Oh, I feel so lucky. If we don't transform them, Bridget, hi Bridget, lovely to see you. If we don't transform this darker energy, it stays stuck and it causes illness. There's a wonderful saying by Dr. Maudsley, and I'm going to read it to you. Feelings that cannot be expressed in tears will cause other organs to weep. I love that so much. Let me say that again. Feelings that cannot be expressed in tears will cause other organs to weep. So you take your negative emotions, you cry, you scream, you shout, you yell, you investigate, and then you transform them out through the other side. Having a good cry is so liberating. It just feels so good. It is like medicine. So never be afraid of crying. I guess you guys that are on here, you ladies that are on here, let me know how you deal with crying. Do you like crying? Do you suppress crying? Let me know. It'd be good for me to know. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the RAIN acronym. What we said, that's incredible. I worked in teaching for 8 years full time and ended up with a chronic illness. I completely get this. When we have to survive every day, just get up and do our job and like go to work, and we're constantly stuffing things down just to cope, just to survive, your body will let you know. And how many people do you know who are having these meltdowns or who have had a meltdown because their bodies are just telling them now is the time, this is not for you, this path, there's got to be a better way. I'm getting goosebumps. That's when you know that there's a truth being said, when you get goosebumps. Internalized stress. Sue, you are absolutely hit the nail on the head. Is the worst thing for the immune system. Autoimmune disease. That's what it is. When you're not listening to your body, when you're not expressing yourself, when you're not allowing these meltdowns to happen, there must be a better word for it. If anyone can think of a better word than meltdown, maybe meltdown is an off-putting word. I don't mind it, but let me know if there's any other word, creative word that you can think of for this process. Findus, what have you said? I always tell both colleagues and students when I'm having a bad day because 1, it makes me feel less bad. True. And 2, I want my kids to know it's fine to be sad. You are a trailblazer, Findus. And it's so true. I mean, I'm the same with my singing students. If I'm having a bad day, I'll say, last week I was depressed. And I said, oh yeah, I'm feeling depressed at the moment. And they love it. They love it. The honesty. So, I want to talk to you about the RAIN acronym. So this is from Tara Brach. I think it's Brach or Brach. I'm not German. I'm rubbish at the German language. But it's Tara Brach, B-A-R-C-H. And you can find her on YouTube. She's a Buddhist spiritual teacher. And she talks about the acronym RAIN. So this is how to kind of have a meltdown. So the R stands for recognize. So firstly, you have to recognize that you are in a state of crisis. Now, crisis in the Greek language means turning point. So we welcome crises, but you have to notice it. You have to have your internal radar switched on first and foremost. Pardon me. You have to then decide to do something about it. Okay, so you must recognize and then decide. Then you allow. So this is the A. You allow the space for whatever needs to happen, okay? So the space can either be a booked-in therapy session with somebody who you trust, who you like. It could be a workshop that you're doing, or you could do it yourself if you have the experience or you want to. You can schedule in an hour or 2 hours or however much time you want into your day, create the space around you, light some candles, put some music on, and then, or you can just simply meditate and just feel what is there. Now, be honest with yourself. It's about being really, really truthful, really, really honest so that you're not hoodwinking yourself, okay? And you allow these feelings to come up with no judgment and no resistance. So it's not like I feel sadness but I shouldn't feel sadness. That's an extra layer of resistance there. Or I feel anxious and I don't want to feel anxious. If you feel anxious, feel anxious. Let the anxiety rise. Tremble with the anxiety. Shake with the anxiety and say it out loud. I feel angry. I feel resentful because this has just happened. I feel grief because, and then you say all the reasons why you feel grief, and you allow it. You just allow these feelings to come up, almost like, you know, I think with me sometimes they're like a volcano. They're just like, they've got to go somewhere. If they don't come out in one sort of explosion, they're going to sort of creep up here. You know, that molten rock is going to creep up when I'm having a conversation with my mum, or creep up when I'm having a conversation with my partner, and I'm just getting triggered by these little things. The more you can do this process, the less it will just be out and then done. The less you'll be triggered by other things like traffic jams or parking tickets or things like that. Let me know if I'm resonating with you. So that is allow. That is the A part of the RAIN, an acronym. Then the I part is to investigate. So you're looking for the beliefs underneath the feelings. What beliefs are you holding on to that are causing you to feel out of alignment? Because the truth about you is so different. The truth about you is that you are God, or you are, you know, if you don't believe in God, you are life. You are an incredible creator. You are part of all that is. You are connected to everything, and life has your back. And you are brave, and you are courageous, and you can handle way, 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 way more than you think you can. So if your thoughts are not in line with that, you're going to feel out of whack. So understanding what thoughts, what beliefs you've got running really help you to understand why you're feeling this rage, this sadness, this stuff that might not be yours. It might be old beliefs that you've picked up from parents, from sort of, you know, crazy dysfunctional parents or crazy dysfunctional friends or society. I mean, how much crap is there in society, in the world, in advertising? You know, every time I go into a supermarket, my heart sinks when I see all the hot cross buns at the door and the packets of biscuits, and I just think, oh, really? Do we really need all that crap in our lives? You know, this advertising going in, it's not yours. It's not your stuff. And so I find myself often grieving for the beliefs that I've taken on that are not mine, because I want to get back as quickly as possible to be in alignment with my own core beliefs, my own core values, which are very, very much to do with the interconnectedness of all things and true health and growth and evolution and doing what's best for us as a species. So when you're in this investigation part of the RAIN process, you name your emotions. I think I said that in the allow, didn't I? So I'm reading my notes here. I've jumped ahead a little bit. When you say, I feel pissed off and angry because ... you fill in the blanks. This is how you move the emotions through the body. This is how you transform them. You're transforming a feeling into a vocal vibration, or when you're doing a dance, you know, if you're doing like a kind of tribal dance or something, you're transforming it into heat, into movement, into kinetic energy. So, you know, think about the things that we can do with our bodies that help us transform this energy. Walking is a good one. I love walking. Walking for me, especially with my back, is the thing that I do. Some people might be able to run, and that's great. Lifting weights, doing yoga, shaking. Has anyone tried shaking? Shaking is brilliant for trauma release. You literally just shake up and down for like half an hour or whatever time you've got, and you get into this wonderful zone, this hypnotic state. It's a brilliant way of transforming negative to positive, like on a battery, you know, negative, positive. I often find music helps. Music helps the transformation process, the investigation process, because music helps us to, music touches that part of us that not much else can. You know, when you watch a film without any music, it's sort of more one-dimensional. When you add the music, it kind of takes on this life of its own, and you get the goosebumps, and you start really understanding what those people in that film set are feeling. So music is a universal language, and I've created a playlist for myself that contains things like, I like kind of rave stuff, trancey stuff. I find it really uplifting. Armand van Helden, Tiesto, I can't think off the top of my head. Oh, and I do love a bit of Hans Zimmer. Now, I use Hans Zimmer for the final process, which is the N part of RAIN, and this is to nurture and to nourish ourselves. So when we've been through this meltdown and we've investigated and we've figured it out, this might, by the way, this might take 2 hours, or this might be a much longer process, and it might be a kind of continual thing that you do sort of every day, especially if you're going through a bit of an existential meltdown. So, you know, you can, yeah, I'll leave that there. So then the nurture, nourish part is giving yourself, so, excuse me, my thoughts are just running away. I feel like I'm channeling a lot of this. So, when you've gone through your meltdown, you are feeling exposed, you are feeling raw, you are feeling open. This is a wonderful, wonderful time now to wrap yourself up in love. Direct and aim that self-love inwardly towards you. So when you've had your cry, when you've done all of that, wrap your arms around yourself, or put a scarf around you, something cocooning and nurturing and womb-like, and begin to say things to yourself that make you feel good. I love you. You are amazing. You are doing so well at life. Tell yourself all the stuff that you needed to hear as a child, perhaps, or that you need to hear today. You're so courageous, you're so brave, you're, I don't know, fill in the blanks. You are a wonderful feminine goddess. You are a true masculine warrior. You bring so much joy to others. You light up this world, and say your name while you're doing it. Say your own name back to yourself, or whatever name you identify with. Because that is like, you know, having this conversation with yourself. None of us were parented properly unless we were really, really lucky. And so you have to become that loving parent to yourself. And that's it. Nurture, nourish. I'm sure there are lots of other wonderful ways. And if you've got any suggestions, pop them in the comments. Any other ways of nourishing yourself? There's the obvious stuff like getting massage and taking hot bath and treating yourself to certain things, and they're all wonderful, but I'm talking about the words, the internal dialogue, which is critical. So we so often criticize ourselves for not being good enough. We need to be better. You know, we might as well just get a whip out and, you know, self-flagellate. That's not gonna work. So that's my RAIN, well, it's not mine, it's Tara Brack's RAIN process. So I'm just going to recap all of that. Thank you so much for staying with me, guys, or ladies. I think it's all ladies. And hi, is it Linny Pinter? Hello, I can see you there watching. Say hi, Linny. Right, so where were we? Recap. Don't be frightened of a meltdown. And, you know, I'm going to have a think about what alternative words I can use. Process, transformation. Know that there is wonder, there is magic on the other side. And the more you can do this, the more alignment you will find with yourself. And then the more you can give other people, the more service you can be to others. So you recognize when you're about to have a crisis, when you're in the middle of a crisis, and you decide to do something about it. There's so much power in that decision. Bang, decide. It's pretty much done once you've decided. You allow the feelings to come up. You create the space. You allow the feelings to come up. You investigate. You ask questions. Whose beliefs have I picked up? Are these mine? No. And you allow the feelings to pass from negative to, or you just allow them to come out in whatever medium they need to. So whether it's movement, voice, however. Could even be sex, you know. Sex is a great way of transforming energy. I know that sometimes if I'm feeling grumpy, it's because I need to have sex. And, you know, that's fine. Sex is a phenomenal power that nature has given us, a phenomenal transformative power. And then nurture yourself, nourish yourself, be kind to yourself, be compassionate, use compassionate language directed and aimed at yourself. So there we go. That's it. That's all I've got to say for today. I don't know how long I've been talking, but it's been so lovely to have Sue, Findus and Linny with us today, and whoever else has been on. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know if you have resonated with any of this. If you want to add a comment afterwards, thank you, Sue. Mwah. If you want to process it, digest it, and then come back with a comment, feel free. If you want to private message me, feel free. But if you think it's going to have some value to the group, why not post it in the group? And if you want to, I am available for free discovery chats. If you're interested in what I do, or if you're interested in working with me, I'll pop a link into the description so that you can book a call with me if you want to. If not, no worries, this group is here for you anyway. I love this group. I love doing the lives, and I love supporting people with anxiety to help them overcome it in the way that I deal with it, work with it, overcome it, navigate it myself on a daily basis. So thank you very, very much. Love you all, and I will see you. The next live is in 2 weeks' time. Not next week because it's bank holiday and I'm not around. It's the 14th of May. I think it's 2 o'clock. And it's going to be on pondering new perspectives. So I am all about, take care, Sue. I'm all about reading and getting new perspectives. So I'm going to share with you some of my favourite authors and little bite-sized chunks about what those books are about. And if you've got any perspectives or books that have changed your life, then please share them with us in 2 weeks' time. Lots of love. Bye.